don't deserve the pain that's caused them. They have not done anything to warrant the being unalived and eaten. You know how for some reasons people say, "Hey, this person did a let's say I don't know how to say this in a good way, but they went into a school and unalived." You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
They would not be innocent, and a punishment. And some people would view the death penalty as being a sufficient punishment. But in the case of these animals, they're bred into existence. They've done nothing just to be unalived, and I think that's a cruel practice that is evil.
And I disagree.
I mean, yeah, you can disagree in the same way that if you thought slavery was good and I said, hey, try and convince me that slavery is bad, and I said, I just disagree, then yeah, of course, it's morality, it's subjective. I can't convince you that. I can only try and, appeal to more intuition. So if you have nothing else, then we done?
Yeah, I would just say, honestly, a couple things. Work on your analogies. Make them more appealing and not try to, backpedal as much. Because when you backpedaled on the fact that I was talking about, you brought up a specific analogy about a baby. I wouldn't necessarily do that because I'd already made the claim about not eating my own species. So that's just a really bad analogy. I would try to find something other than that. So try not to,
Okay.
I would say just write down. But other than that, it was pretty fun debating you. Actually, you gave me a kick, got my brain going. About to write this essay. So have a good one, man.
Who is next? Wow, that dude took us to over 130 people. Wow, let's get some more debates going in. Double tap the screen, everyone. These are the prompts. If you disagree, do come and debate or leave a comment and I'll answer your comments as well. And check out my YouTube for my other debates. Hey, would you want to debate? If I pay, can I join? Sure. If you pay, you get to skip the queue.
Hey, I was just gonna say, what does it matter if if we eat animals? If in reality though, any animal that had the capability of harming us would
Tom,
just eat us.
Roses, Tom. Tom, thank you so much for the roses. Helps go a long way. Thank you so much for the roses, Tom. Yeah, carry on.
How what's the difference between us eating animals and then say a lion going and eating another animal?
Basically, a lion doesn't have a choice but to do that, but you can go to the store and get vegan foods. The lion, if it doesn't go and do that, it will be unalive to death through starvation. But you can go to the store and do it without supporting the factory farming that slaughters 90 billion animals a year.
But at the beginning of time, we still had no choice, and I mean,
yes, but you have the choice now. That's the whole point. You can go to the store and get vegan foods. You have that choice now.
But the reality is, it doesn't really matter though.
It does matter because 90 billion innocent beings that can breathe like you, feel like you, can sense like you, have feelings like you, are being unalived in the worst ways you could imagine and abused 90 billion a year. That's a lot of living beings. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I do. But that's just kind of how life works, though. You know what I mean?
Well, that's not a justification. That's kind of how life works. That's like me saying, "Oh, thingy is good because that's kind of how life works." Appreciate the follows, guys. If you want to catch more streams, do follow as well, and go and check out the YouTube and double tap the screen as well. Hey, what do you want to debate?
Well, going back to the other guy who was talking about the what was I going to say? Jesus. The other thing about the veganism and stuff like that. I have no problem with people who want to be vegans. Not an issue. My point being is you're saying that obviously, yeah, we have a choice, but some people don't necessarily have a choice due to.
And I would brought up the example that if the case where you were on a desert island and it was either starved to be unalived or eat meat, then I would view it as okay. But 99% of people, thank you so much for the rose, Sarah, are not in that position where they have to. They can go to the store and get vegan foods. 99.999%.
No,
Just
I get that.
A very small minority.
My point being is that some people can't afford their lifestyle. It is rather expensive because it's fresh produce. Fresh produce goes out of date. It does deteriorate.
Hold on one second. I understand what you're saying that not a lot of people can afford it, but there is actually proof that, pastas, beans, lentils, tofu, there's actually cheap vegan alternatives that you can absolutely afford.
They are, because they are dry stored. I get that. But people don't all want to eat dry stored food. It's not necessarily good for you because carbohydrates.
In fact, plant-based foods, people eat plant-based foods, on average far more healthy. They're less likely to be unalive from cholesterol, heart failure, diabetes. I have the source. It's the National Institute of Health. It's basically a study on plant-based diets. Less likely from cancer as well.
Yeah.
Eating plant-based foods are far, far more healthy and can be more nutritious than eating meat. So
Yeah, I get that. Like, they're considered superfoods. They have a lot of health benefits, but they can be introduced into diets. You don't have to necessarily avoid meats.
No,
You
I'd
are-
absolutely recommend you avoid meat because, again, meat has proven to actually have negative health outcomes. And
Yeah,
of course,
but-
aside from the moral factor of hurting innocent animals,
Yeah,
as
but
well as
there are lots of plants. There are lots of plants that have proved to have negative health benefits as well. But people still consume and use them, like cigarettes, which is tobacco, and that's a plant.
You said a lot of, okay, well, using it in that sense is not a good way of using plants. I'm talking about eating it as
This is the whole ethics and morals thing. It doesn't necessarily change how people will live because, again, some people
Well,
can't
that's like-
can't afford to constantly eat and live healthy because it's just literally not physically capable.
I think that's the case in everyone's cases. But then, at least, let me just ask you this: would you then concede that if they could afford it, then that not eating meat is the morally correct thing to do? Would you at least concede that?
It depends on how you would consider morally ethic, because if they're going out and hunting it and killing it themselves and not necessarily consuming through supermarkets which are killing the animals, that's not a bad thing. Like, they are doing it themselves.
Hold on one second.
It's still it's unaliving an animal, and I understand that, right?
Hold on one second, my dear boy. You're not paying attention. Let me help you out. You're still unaliving an innocent animal. Let's come down to planet Earth and let's acknowledge that you're still unaliving an innocent animal that doesn't need to be hurt. Someone said morals don't exist in a godless world. Morals absolutely exist in the godless world. It's just subjective morals. You can still have morals without God. But anyway, let me help you out though. Here's the point. The point is that we're still unaliving innocent animals. Yeah, and don't say words. There's a lot of trigger words. You got to really censor your language on TikTok. But yeah, the point is that in that case, you're still unaliving an innocent animal. So if you went out and hunted it yourself, that would still be immoral because that's an innocent being that doesn't consent to you unaliving it. So it wouldn't be a good thing to do. Do feel free to unmute yourself.
Right. I get where you're coming from, but again, people unalived animals to survive years ago. If you do it yourself, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
You're appealing to like nature fallacy. Just because people did it in nature and did it some time ago doesn't make it okay to do now.
Hear me out. Right. I understand where you're coming from.
That's like thinking childhood marriage was okay.
No, that's a completely different fallacy and completely different thing.
No, I'm comparing it because just because something was okay in the past doesn't make it okay now. Okay?
Right.
It's a tradition.
The way you are putting it across, the 90 billion animals that are being unalived, yes, I agree it's sick. It shouldn't necessarily happen. But the point,
and that's exactly why you wouldn't want to support it and not eat meat. Very simple. Become vegan, my dear boy.
Unfortunately, some people can't afford it. Again, with that whole thing, some people don't understand it. Some people just are completely against it. You can't change people's opinions and morals by preaching.
You would at least have to concede that if they could afford to do it, that it would be immoral if they didn't do it. And the moral thing to do would be to be vegan. You would at least concede that. You would have to.
Not necessarily. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you consume soya?
Yeah, what about that?
Right. You do realize soya is on the up and up for one of the leading things that cause deforestation, correct?
You have a source for that?
It has been proven. It's on a few news sources.
Do you have a source? That was the question.
I don't have a particular source, but I have seen it and read about it.
So you've seen it and read about it, and you expect me to believe you word for word. I'll look into it.
I didn't say believe me word for word, and I will look it up if you would like me to. I'll link it to you after your stream.
So you can link it to me, but again, you have to provide a source or some sort of evidence. I
will. I'll find a source for you. But my point being is there are things that are happening in the world, no matter what.
Don't count as sources.
Sustainability is what I'm saying.
Okay, sir, you don't. Yeah, well, when you find that source, you can tell me. But until you find that source, I'm sorry, but your point is irrelevant. Guys, double tap the screen. I'm gonna get some more people in here. Do double tap the screen. It helps the live go a long way. Check out my YouTube for my debates, and these are the topics at hand. God is imaginary. Go vegan. And evolution is a fact. Do feel free to, yeah. Do feel free
Yeah,
to debate these. Hey, what do you want to debate?
let's start with evolution as a fact.
I can't hear what you're saying. Your mic's too unclear. Try and fix it, and then I'll add you back on. Double tap the screen, everyone. Let's get some more people in here. Hey,
So you said
hold
that
on one second. Hold on one second.
being
Someone asked, Adrian, are you pro-choice? In my terms on abortion is that it's okay up until 18 to 28 weeks because that's when we see sentience and we see a conscience as well, a conscious experience, and the past, present, and future conscious experience in conjunction is what I value. That seems to be what we value when we view a person. If someone's brain dead and they will never wake up, we see this in brain dead patients, it would be okay to unplug the plug because again, they will never wake up, and that's what we value, the conscious experience. Anyways, what do you want to debate?
so I think the veganism is kind of crazy.
Why
I
do you
want
do
to
it that
say
way?
because we humans should value each other more than animals, right? Just
Sir,
like
even if
animals.
it's where, sir, just listen. I value myself more than you. I can value myself above every other life form on this planet.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't justify me unaliving, torturing, and hurting these innocent beings.
No,
You
but
understand?
about it like this, right? Lions also value their kind more than others, and they're willing to kill others for food.
Sir, are you a
And
lion?
no,
Exactly.
but
So
no,
the point
but
is,
you get the point. You get the
I'm a
point,
lion,
right?
so there's no
No,
point
but you
doing
get the
that.
point.
No, I don't get the point. You don't just our lions don't have the brain capacity because they're
I'm
not
just
human.
saying animals
Hold
are
on a
less
second, boy.
valueless.
Just listen, just listen. You're confusing yourself. Let me help you out. Come down to planet Earth, take a breather, and let's engage in this rationally, okay? Let's help you out. Okay, number one, lions, you're not a lion, you have a brain. You can actually, acknowledge stuff. So that's an irrelevant point. You can actually have morality. Lions don't have the brain capacity to do that. And they have to eat meat. That's what you're not understanding. So do you have an actual point or are you going to keep going round and round in circles?
I'm just saying that since we have always ate animals through our ancestral times, why should we stop at this current stage?
So that's an
We've done it
appeal
for
to
so
tradition.
long.
Hold on one second, my dear boy. You're intellectually struggling, so let me help you out. That's an appeal to tradition. We've also done slavery for many years. Doesn't make it okay. Thank you so much for the gift, Legend of Stu.
No, but that's different, right? Slavery was done to humans, animals,
There's
or
still,
animals.
there's
There's
still
certain difference in terms of value.
Let me ask you a question. Do you support bullfights, animal fights? Do you support that?
I don't know. I don't know about it too much, so I can't say if I
Putting
support it
animals
or
to
not.
fight against each other in a cage. Do you think that's okay?
Oh, in a cage? I mean,
Yeah.
for human entertainment, sure.
Oh, you view that as okay? Okay, that's an interesting one. A lot of people would disagree with you. So I'm assuming you're okay with the gladiators and the bull. When you have the red flag with the bulls, I'm assuming you're okay with that, which is okay. A lot of people would disagree, but you're okay. But the whole point is that it's not justified. Okay, that's the whole point. Anyways, let's get someone else in. Double tap the screen if you want to be next. Do make sure you're in the guest request. Make sure you're above 18 years old and you would disagree with any of these prompts. Make sure you join the guest request if you want to be added in next. Double tap the screen. Let's hopefully reach 10,000 likes or something. Double tap the screen, everyone. Double tap the screen. Let's get some more people in here. Hey, what do you want to debate?
I wanted to talk about the vegan topic.
Why aren't you vegan?
I feel like it's more so of a egotistical thing to be vegan.
How is it an egotistical thing? It's not. It's an ethical thing. Do you know what ethical?
The reason why it's an egotistical thing is because you don't live longer from being a vegan.
Yes, you do. In fact, all the data indicates that. I'm gonna bring you a source. If you look it up, it's called the National Institute of Health, Plant-Based Diets and Long-Term Health. And the conclusion literally has that plant-based diets have you live a lot longer. In fact, plant-based diets actually are more nutritious. They have you live longer. Eating plant-based foods is a lot better. People worry about vitamin B12, vitamin D, and calcium deficiency, but in fact, you can actually absolutely get these through either supplements or if you just eating more other vegan foods more. And even in the case where you have to eat supplements, I think that's far more moral that it would be to do than to do that to innocent.
Yeah, that's a misconception. Only because of the simple fact, eating meat does increase your chances of like having, diabetes and things like that. You have to do it in
That is
moderation.
factual. That is
Yeah,
factual.
yeah.
That sources said
So
that.
what you're saying is you don't necessarily live longer from being a vegan. There is no you're going to live over 110 just because of the simple fact you're a vegan. Eating meat in moderation
It's not an exact
is the
thing that
key.
you'll live over 110, but the data indicates that on average vegans would live longer due to the health implications of eating
But
meat.
how you're explaining it is a misconception because of the simple fact we're talking about being.
No, it's not a misconception whatsoever.
You're not
I
letting
don't
me.
understand.
You're not letting me explain how it's a misconception.
Okay, explain it.
Because if you're eating meat and you're not eating them in proper moderations, if you're overeating meat, these can contribute to things. There's been studies about eating meat being linked to cancer, diabetes, having high blood pressure. It's different things that does happen when you do eat meat. You can potentially have diseases and everything from eating that. However, if you are on a plant-based diet, you don't necessarily just live longer. You live healthier, you live a healthier life, and you are not exposed to these certain diseases and everything because of the simple fact you're not partaking in eating the meat. However, you don't necessarily just live longer because there's people that can live longer than vegans and eat meat their entire life, just
I
as long as they do
agree.
it in moderation.
And in the same case, thank you so much for the gift, legend of Stu. And there's also people who smoke who can live longer. Yeah, of course, there's exceptions. There's people who drink alcohol who can live longer. But in general, the trends we see is that if you do engage in these activities, you're more likely to pass away from preventable, let's just say, conditions. Let's just say
Yeah, but it's still more so of an egotistical thing. It's not really not.
It's not egotistical. I just explained why. It's just not egotistical. It just is not egotistical, my dear boy. Not egotistical
Hello.
whatsoever. Hey, what you want to debate?
I'm just wondering on why you think God is imaginary.
No evidence. Do you have any?
Yes, all the scriptures, all the
Okay, you can't use scriptures as evidence. That's called circular reasoning. Okay. So do you have any actual external evidence that proves exactly what you're saying, or do you have nothing?
well, also, what is the difference between being vegan and not being vegan? Like, what
Okay,
what
so
what,
we're
what
just
is better about
gonna
being vegan?
shift to another topic. It's okay. Nice red herring. But anyways, you said what's the difference between what?
Why
Wait,
is
how old are you?
being vegan better
How old are
than
you?
being
How old are
normal
you?
or
How old are you?
18?
Okay, what was your question?
Why should I be vegan?
Because you don't hurt innocent animals and it's a lot healthier for yourself as well as the environment. Is that not good enough reasons for you?
I mean, I don't understand why you should decide what I do.
I'm not saying when you do, I'm trying to convince you to make the right choice to not hurt innocent animals. Like in the same way, if I was trying to convince you that slavery was bad. Oh, and he ran away. Of course. Of course. Guys, feel free to check out the YouTube and double tap the screen as well as subscribe. It helps go a long way. Hey, what you want to debate?
Hi, I want to debate going vegan.
Okay, why aren't you vegan?
I believe that people have the choice and it does hurt animals. I understand that, but there are certain nutrients in meat. There are certain
No. Let me stop you there, ma'am. Hold on 1 second, young lady. You're already just spouting lies. So let me help you out quickly. Number one, again, you were correct that you're hurting innocent animals. Do you not see any issue with hurting innocent animals? Or are you fine with all forms of animal torture? If they're not human, then you can do whatever you want to them, however you please, and torture them in any way.
I'm not okay with torture, no, but
Exactly,
there's
that's
different
the
ways
issue.
you can kill
And that's the
different
issue.
animals.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, ma'am. That's the issue. In factory farming, all the animals are literally being tortured unconsensually,
But
and it's
there's other I understand that, but not everybody buys from the store. Some people grow their own, farm their own food. There are people who hunt. I know that's common, buying your
think
food
it
in the
would be
grocery
okay.
store, but not every farmer abuses their animals.
Ma'am, do you think there's any moral way to unalive something without its consent?
Pardon?
Do you think there's any moral way, good way to unalive a living being without its consent?
I think that's a very, like, I think it depends. It really depends on the situation. There's MAID, which is medical assisted death in Canada. There's some people who.
No, but in that case, I mean, they use that sort of thing. Oh, I don't know if maybe it's because she used the word death. I don't know why she left, but she brought up the same medically assisted death. In that case, again, with medically assisted, you usually consent to that sort of thing. You'd probably sign a note to the doctor saying, "Hey, I consent. In this case, if this happens, I consent to this." I know Jehovah's Witnesses do this as well, and do not resuscitate. They usually have something that says "do not resuscitate." So in the case that they are, have loss of blood, they could deny blood transfusion. So they do consent to that. But in the case of animals, they don't consent whatsoever. And that is the issue. Double tap the screen, everyone. Let's get some more people in here. Feel free to subscribe as well. And yeah, hey, what do you want to debate?